Happy Friday, Juju Gang. How's it going? Let me know if my audio is coming in clear. $151.23 sitting on Tesla. I hope everyone has had a wonderful week. I know it's been a wild one. I posted this on my video last night. I said, the holidays are just around the corner, so remember to prioritize that coming up this weekend. I think we all could use a break, so I definitely appreciate you guys still tuning in on a Friday Power Hour. Mark says powerless power hour. No, hopefully we can bring the juju. Again, I got the vitamin C juju, the orange, and I'll take a couple of that after I'm done my first coffee of the day. I just had breakfast, so intermittent fasting is going good. Great American, how's it going? Let me know in the chat where you guys are tuning in from, city, state, country, whatever you guys feel comfortable sharing, and I'll read some places out. And if you're watching on replay as well, feel free to throw it in the comments. Yes. So on the agenda today, has Elon sold? We'll go through that. On the agenda today is also a Morgan Stanley note, some PE earnings projection updates. Then we'll go through Jim Cramer's thoughts on CNBC. We'll go through Tony Saganacci. I think I pronounced that wrong. Tony from Bernstein. And then we got a lot of news to cover with that respect with Twitter as well. But, to be fair, I'm just going to say it. I don't really care too much about this whole Twitter thing, this whole news cycle, really. Elon banning those journalists caused an upstorm in mainstream media last night, which, I was confused because he originally said he wasn't going to ban. I don't really want to spend too much time digging into that because I just think, to be honest, it's my opinion, I just think it's a giant waste of time right now to talk about that when we can talk about Tesla stock fundamentals, keep it more Tesla oriented. At least that's where my ADHD mind wants to go to, not necessarily Twitter right now. Chatwick, how's it going? Okay, let me catch up with the chat here. Loud and clear says Verd, how's it going? Sweden, maybe how's it going? Jonas as well, Cleveland, Ohio, there we go. Denmark, Sweden, Romania, Seattle, SoCal, Juju Gang. I think there's a like a district in SoCal for the Juju Gang. Boulder, Colorado, Squamish, snow covered in Ottawa, Baton Rouge, Netherlands. That's true. It is. Got to be careful with that. Not on Mars as well. Hiding behind the sofa. Yeah, no kidding. Milwaukee, Southern California, Boston, Germany. Daly City, North California. I'm guessing NorCal. As a Canadian, I always have to double check with my geography. How's it going, Boyle? Germany, Oregon, Switzerland. Paco, you as well. From South Africa. Twitter is a mess. Yes, it is. Mexico. There we go. Kenton. Gore from Vancouver. Hey, local. Always nice to talk to my local Vancouverites. Dubai, Colorado, Qatar, Bay Area, Gonzalo, how's it going? Vancouver, hey, not Vancouver, Indiana, Sydney, Ghana, wow, Leduc, Alberta. When will we hit 1,000? I think it'll be a long time before that. With the way things are going. Farsland, Norway, Albuquerque, Czech Republic, Cape Town, Kingston, Fort Worth, UK. Completely agree, says Michael. There we go. Montreal, Sunshine State, Hadouken. Mimi saying happy Friday to you. Cindy Ray, how's it going? Got to listen to the Christmas. If it wasn't copyrighted, I'd put it on. Glasgow, Central New Jersey. Spaces is disabled on Twitter. Really? Is that right? I was on that Spaces last night, and I had one of those existential moments where I was like, what am I doing? Why do I care? Like, who gets banned off Twitter? Like, I just had kind of this moment where I was like, I don't care. And I get it. A lot of you guys eat it up, and a lot of you guys like it, and a lot of you guys say it's for free speech and are headlining this. I don't want to minimize your guys' interest in it. I'm just saying, I had one of those moments. I was like, what are we doing? Or what am I doing? I was like, I couldn't care any less. Geneva, and maybe that changes tomorrow. I'm kind of wild like that. Taiwan, Naples, Fremont. Hey, how's it going, my friend? Okay, so let's talk Tesla stock. I got the chat pulled up here on the side here. Remember, it is quad witching today. Thank you, Marco, for reminding me in the Discord as I take a quick glance, which means we're going to expect heavier than normal volume on a day like today. Volume on Webull is showing for Tesla 97 million shares traded already. Now, remember, Elon has 2 days to report, 2 business days to report any sales he makes. So on Monday, we got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday's sales on the Wednesday evening. In theory, Elon could have sold yesterday, which if you look at the tape is a little bit mixed because we did finish green. And he could sell today. For example, actually, maybe this is the plan. If he had sold yesterday, which I don't think he had, if he sold yesterday, he would have to report that Monday. But if he sells today, he can wait until Tuesday evening. So if he waits until Tuesday evening, he can sell Monday and Tuesday as well. He can get 3 more days of selling in before he has to report it. If he had sold yesterday, which I don't think he has, looking at the tape yesterday and finishing green, of course, and we were relatively strong yesterday, right? Closing green when the NASDAQ was red. He would have to report it on Monday. So that wouldn't really make a lot of sense if he had 3 more days worth of selling to do. So okay, throw in the chat. Do you guys think Elon has been selling today? Yes or no? Should we do a poll? Let's do a quick poll. Are mods allowed to set up polls for me? Hold on, I'm gonna do a poll. Has Elon been selling stock today? Yes or no? Okay. I see some comments coming here. Yes, no, yes, no. Yeah, so it's about 50-50. About 50-50. So 150, 51 said non-Tesla. Okay, so a couple questions also about thoughts on the bottom and how much further we can fall, right? Essentially. Now, of course, I'd love to get your guys' thoughts on this as well. I generally am pulling up the closest or the timeline with the most downside support on the moving averages, and I'm pulling up the NASDAQ here on the weekly. And if you look at the NASDAQ on the weekly, you can see here we're again breaching the 200-week moving average on the NASDAQ. And you're probably asking, why are we talking about the 200-week? Why aren't we talking about the 200-day? Well, because the 200-day is long gone, okay? The 200-day moving average is sitting at 300 on the NASDAQ, and on Tesla, it's sitting at $208 So $108 on the upside is where the 200-day moving average is sitting down. It's going to have to come down for us to pass that again. But on the weekly moving averages, the reason why I look at this again, remember, is institutions will try to find areas of outstanding demand, outstanding supply to make their purchases, right? Especially algos are really trade. That's why the 200-day moving average, historically in a bull market, has been a really good area of support, because if you're an institution, you like the stock, the 200-day moving average is like averaging in the last 200 days, and you just buy a share today, right? So it buys you that. Now, the problem with the 200-week is that we have now officially breached on the downside, and barring a huge move up, which, I don't even think we should expect here in the next 50 minutes, we're going to close below the 200-week moving average for the first time since, even COVID shutdown in Tesla did not breach the 200-week moving average. And again, a different stock back then. Now it's a mega cap. You have to go back to 2019, end of 2019. Actually, in fact, let me just see. That was the first time it broke. So the last time it's been below the 200-week moving average, maybe that's a better way to put it, is when Tesla was post split adjusted under $20 a share, right? And that was October 2019. So you have to really go back, and you'll see here that blue line that I'm highlighting is the 200-week moving average. So it's, this on Monday's stream, I think I was streaming or it was a video, I was like, we got to watch for the 200-week moving average. And it does not seem like that. As bulls are going to be able to defend that zone. And to be fair, it's hard for bulls, for institutional bulls to defend this zone is kind of hard, because first of all, remember, retail investors don't really affect Tesla stock day to day anymore. It's a $475 billion market cap company. But institutions have to go against Elon this week. So there's that. Do we spring back like we have in the past? I mean, debatable. The next downside, and I can actually pull up, it's a little bit of a weaker argument, but I'll try to pull it up here. the next level, I can change the 300 the 300 week. I can change it to 250 week. I know it's just not as clean as the 200 day. You can argue about the 300 day, which is at $120-ish on Tesla. The 250 day is about 135. So that's one way of looking at support if you wanted to on just specifically Tesla. I think the other way to look at support on the downside is look at the NASDAQ and judge based on, okay, if the NASDAQ has 10% more downside or X percent more downside, Tesla has 2 times that. And I think looking at that probably has a better implication. So on the NASDAQ, you'll see the 200-week moving average is essentially what we're flirting with today. 276 is holding of the 200-week moving average, equity wide. And then breaking down that, I mean, to be fair, we have broken down past the 200-week moving average on the NASDAQ in October. But the 250-week is down at 254. So let's say $20 on the downside is about 10% on the NASDAQ, 20% with the beta of 2 on Tesla. On 20%, that's about $30 more. So yeah, kind of ugly just to talk about downside support, but a discussion I think still worth having. 150.64 sitting on Tesla. Let me read some comments. Nolan says 48 PE for a company that grew earnings 103% last quarter. Yay. Well, actually, really good comment because I have some tabs I want to pull up to talk actually about this. Alan Root, Dow Jones Al, who's on Barron's, posted a really awesome chart. He says, favorite chart in a long time. Look at the scale of the auto business. Not easy to build a car company. Elon Musk is generating about 50% of total free cash flow of the entire industry. So check out this chart if you can. Hold on, let me just disable this chat for a second. So look at the car industry. In 2022, it's estimated about 55 million cars are going to be produced. This is actually quite low, right? Does anyone know historically what it's kind of been? I think it's been like in the 70s and 80s, right? Historically. So 2022 is a down year for sure. Toyota is building about 10 of that. Tesla is building about 1.4. If we go on to operating profit margins, Toyota's at 9%. Tesla is doubling them at 19%, over doubling, right? 2023 expected cash flow from operations from Toyota is expected to be the same as Tesla with that type of unit volume difference. The capital expenditures, the CapEx that Toyota has next year is, and Tesla is still growing, right? Toyota is actually expected to have about $4 more billion of CapEx next year, and free cash flow. Tesla's actually gonna. This is analysts' expected numbers from FactSet, but they're expected to outperform Toyota 15 to 11 billion of free cash flow next year. So the only thing that I wish that this took into account was growth, not just margin. But I mean, if you look at the margins, it's quite crazy to put that into the same bucket. It's tough. I don't really have a price because I was doing a lot of options back in the end of 2020 kind of era, middle of 2020. So I took a lot of my options and leaps and I bought over the time. I'm lucky I converted into, because I wasn't equity at all. Like when I started the channel, I was just doing options. So I'm lucky I converted throughout 2021. And it's hard for me to say exactly, but it's high. I think I'm red, but based on my cost basis now, because I did convert a lot of the Tesla US equities into a Canadian CDR version, which was, looking back, has been a bad move. I can't trade out of that account really, and it has no options. So it's just it's been a pain, really. So, not really. I mean, I had, but at a certain point out of cash, and I'm growing my own business. So I'm trying to put more money into that. So But Avi and I have been, generally speaking, together. But in the last week, no. I'm tempted to consider options again, to be fair, but I don't want to fight the Fed. Okay, House says Toyota has $210 billion in debt. One thing to be careful with when talking with legacy auto debt is that a lot of it is captive financing, right? So don't just compare debt lines. I know a lot of people like to do that, but we got to be careful because remember, a lot of those are auto loans given out to people that buy their cars. Now, that is a whole problem in and of itself, right? Because I don't think the terminal value of those cars are anywhere close to where they're going to be in 2 to 3 years. And they're actually coming down quite a bit today. Kathy Wood actually just retweeted a report on it. But be careful with just comparing debt to debt because Tesla doesn't have a captive financing arm, but Tesla does outsource a lot of their car loans directly. And I think they probably make commission off of it. So, so when we bought our Model 3, we were given, I think, a couple of options, and then we picked Scotia in our case. And it was like, okay, I don't even have a Scotia bank account. I was actually thinking about this the other day. I was like, I pay every month. I don't have a Scotia account. I don't even know what my account number would be with them, but it just auto debits out of our account every month. And I'm like, how would I even get in touch with them? It's just kind of crazy actually to think about. I should probably open up a Scotia account, but actually I did open up a Scotia bank account, but their customer service was just so bad. I just had to close it. Yeah. And actually I might pull that up here in a second. Oh, you know what? Okay, I'm gonna pull up CNBC as well live. Okay, so let's talk about it. So Gary Black also tweeted latest Morgan Stanley Tesla report. Highlights: 1, Tesla market cap lowest since November of 2020. Number 2, 2025 key metrics: revenue, volumes, EBITDA, all 50%, 60% higher than today. All 50 to 60% higher today than the November 2020 price. EV to EBITDA and PE have contracted severely due to the Twitter noise and concerns about future growth. So let's get into the report, shall we? Open an image in the new tab. Let's try to make this readable for y'all. Is that okay? Is that font size fine? Okay. So Morgan Stanley, this is Adam Jonas. Overweight rating on Tesla stock, $330 price target. So Tesla's crossed the $500 billion market cap on December 14th, making it the first time Tesla has been below this mark since November 23rd, 2020. Looking at the overall market versus now, the S&P closed at $4,000 and Treasury yield was at 3.5% versus the S&P closing back then at 3,600 and the yields being at 0.86%. Oh man, what a beautiful time that was when yields were at 0.86%. So Adam Jonas says our 2025 estimates. So in 2025, or today we forecast Tesla generates $186 billion in revenue in 2025, making 3.2 million vehicles in 2025. Okay, over or under? Throw in the chat. Over or under? Does Tesla do more than 3.2 or less than 3.2 million cars in 2025? In 2025. So remember, 3 more fiscal years from now. Over under. Throw in the chat. I'm quite over. Actually, I'll do my back of the napkin model after this. Okay, I see there's consensus in the chat. Okay. Is there anyone that says under? Okay, so Ty says under. Fair enough. Okay. So you guys, I guess we have consensus in the chat room. Which is, I mean, doesn't mean we're right, but it is what it is. Okay, multiple versus now. So this is an interesting one, right? So check this out. Using a market cap of $500 billion and adjusting it to EV for he means enterprise value, for net debt at each point in time, we find that Tesla is currently trading at almost a 40% lower multiple on their 2025 EBITDA numbers compared to the last time the market cap was below 500 billion. While multiple contraction can in part be associated with different market multiples, the 12-month forward S&P 500 PE multiple has only contracted 20%. So essentially, there's a delta of about a 20% or about a 50% in the multiple difference over this time period, with it now sitting at 17.3 times versus 21.5 times back in November 2020. This is a really interesting note. Really interesting note. While tough to quantify, Adam Jonas says, we believe Tesla's recent sell-off has elements of both uncertainty around underlying Tesla fundamentals, weakening demand, uncertainty of future price cuts, overall macro picture, which we're going to get into here with Bernstein's Tony in a second, while also containing an element of investors' uncertainty surrounding other factors such as Elon's strategy and actions related to Twitter. So there we go. So the Twitter overhang makes it to the Morgan Stanley note. So where do we go from here? Adam Jonas says, as Tesla sits at our $150 bear case and potentially crosses below it, we see an attractive price point for investors to get involved in what we see as the clear EV or the clear leader in EVs. While we expect 2023 to be a tough year for both legacy automakers and pure EV names, we believe that Tesla will widen its gap to competition as it leverages its cost leadership and vertical integration in a deflationary EV environment due to its scale, cost leadership, lack of financial debt, and self-funding, free cash flow generation. We see Tesla as a relatively lower risk vis-a-vis other pure EV plays. I think that goes without saying. Would you rather own Rivian stock, Lucid stock, negative fat gross margins, huge operating costs? No thanks. At least for me. Let me know if you disagree in the chat. Let me read some comments out. Definitely feels like that, doesn't it, MKLC? Woolman says, hey, Ash, remember your long rant in autumn of 2021 about Tesla being an inflation-secure stock? Just wondering if you still think that. I think during inflationary times, you have to pick and choose companies, in my opinion, that have really good pricing power. And it's hard to find in the car business, in my opinion, it's hard to, especially in the EV business, a company other than Tesla that has the level of pricing power that Tesla has. Because not only is Tesla increasing their margins, but also which proxy is that they're lowering their costs. But also, I think in general, the EV play is still underplayed as a market-wide phenomenon. So if you have those two things together, you kind of have, and maybe not next fiscal year because of demand, but I think you have long-term demand sustaining. You have cost reduction happening, and it's just hard to find, like Toyota. I mean, Toyota's going to have to cut prices more than Tesla does. I think next year Tesla's going to have to cut prices by a couple of thousand. I think ASP is probably going to go down. I probably think that's fair to say. But also, I think the inflation point is interesting because Tesla doesn't have a lot of debt, right? So if you wanted to, you could say, oh, if you're a company that has a lot of debt, we love inflation. But I think that'd be kind of a strong-armed way of saying that. Tygoran says, I agree with the Rivian statement, but didn't they sign a 100,000 van deal with Amazon? Amazon is what is keeping Rivian legit in my eyes. But also remember, like Ty, like, it's great. I think demand is awesome and you can find buyers for these things. But the hard part is building and manufacturing these EVs, vans, whatever you want to say, at profit, at scale. That is the name of the game. If all of a sudden Rivian or Lucid could build at scale 30,000, 50,000 cars a year on the drop of a hat, and they could build it at a 20% gross margin or 15 or 10% or whatever it is to start off, and they had a plan to lower their costs and engineering to back it, for sure. But I think does anyone know like what Rivian's or Lucid's gross margin was? Wasn't it like minus 200% or something? Al says, are we going to sit and discuss analyst fundamentals when Tesla does blow 100, even 80? It's now driven by macro recession and its biggest short ever, Elon. Yeah, I mean, that's why in the beginning we talked about more technicals, like levels we can drop to in the market, and kind of looking at that. And now we're going into notes. I think you have to go through both, right? Because at the end of the day, what the backstop is for an equity has to be its earnings in the long haul. If Tesla all of a sudden had half the demand book it had right now, their 4680 project, Elon came out and said, oh, this is never going to work. And we actually are going to have our costs being, our costs are going to go up by 50% next year. Well, then earnings would be affected, and then the whole story is over, right? So I think the backstop has to be earnings in the long haul. But I get the sentiment. That's why I started with more of the technical side of it. How does the IRA impact margins? That's a good question. I think Adam Jonas might get into it on the next page. Actually, here's a couple of charts. But the IRA, I mean, to my knowledge, and I think Bradford Ferguson's kind of been leading the charge on trying to read this bill, is that just out of Giga Nevada, what they're doing, I think already qualifies them for X billions of dollars next fiscal year, should it fully get passed. So, okay, so check this out. So this is 2025 estimates now versus then, now being November of 2020. So November of 2020, 2025 estimates for Tesla were 120 billion. And now they're 186. EBITDA is actually $13 billion higher, so about 50% higher from where estimates were in November 2020. And remember, the reason why Adam Jonas is throwing November of 2020 in is because that was the last time Tesla was trading at a $500 billion market cap. T-Mac actually makes a great point on our Discord chat. Elon can't sell Monday and Tuesday of next week because there's the blackout period. Great point. Thank you, T-Mac. Actually, totally forgot. So, actually, someone throw in the chat if I'm right. If I've been wrong about that. The blackout period starts after today, right? The shareholders blackout window. That's a good point. So the last day Elon could potentially be selling before Q4 earnings might actually be today. Okay, Chris says yes. Okay. There we go. Okay, so in that case, okay, I guess that's good news. Hadouken says, Lucid operating margin, trailing 12 months, minus 618%. Operating margin for Rivian, trailing 12 months, 716%. Okay, Tardy in our Discord says that Gary Black tweeted that today's the last day. Thank you, folks. Okay, yes. So there we go. So today's my understanding says that. Okay, perfect. Okay, so today we have 102 million shares traded on Tesla. It seems like the consensus is with the poll, which I'm going to officially close now. The winner is yes. 63% of people think Elon is selling stock today in the chat. 36% now. 64 to 36 is the split. Think no. Yeah. Nick says, if Elon stepped down, would the stock go up at this point? I don't think so. I think Elon is still the straw that stirs the drink. I would personally be choked if Elon stepped away from Tesla, because I mean, I get it. There's short-term noise, all of this sideshow that's happening. Elon selling 151.26 sitting on Tesla, by the way, trying to go up here. But what would you? Okay, you guys throw in the chat. What Elon leaving Tesla, good or bad? And explain why if you want. I don't know. I would be not upset, but I would be disappointed. And yeah, I mean, Elon is the straw that stirs the drink, whatever you want to say. I get it. We are distracted with all the sideshow stuff happening, but V says, why does Elon matter so much to the stock and company? Well, at a strategic level, it's hard to replace Elon. The number of baskets he has expertise in, especially with Tesla and let's say FSD, energy, battery, car, manufacturing. It would be so hard to replace someone like Elon. Isn't this the ironic thing? Wall Street likes to discount when Elon gets distracted and they say, oh, Elon's distracted. Elon's distracted. And so they killed the stock. They dumped the stock on that news. Elon's distracted. Thank you for the 50 Swedish krone per Johan Olsen. Can you not argue that the stock Elon is selling is diluting? If Elon were to ever or never going to sell, at least for a long time. Well, remember, it's not dilutive when he sells. Actually, here, I gotta pull up your super chat here so everyone can read it. His stock is not, so whenever he sells stock, that's not dilutive. Dilutive would be like issuing new shares, stock-based comp. That would be dilutive. But you know what's weird is like when Elon gets distracted, the market hurts Tesla and goes, well, we're got to sell Tesla. Elon's distracted. And then also when Elon, there was that news of Elon getting replaced by Tom Zhu, they're also like, oh, well, Elon's gone. Got to dump the stock even more. So it kind of, both sides of their mouth. Okay, so the consensus definitely in the chat is bad. Bad. Surprised you even asked. Yes. I always have to question what I'm thinking before I say it, but yes. TM says, I think the stock would go up if Elon left now. I don't think so. I don't think so. Because then all of a sudden, you have this group of people that have invested in the leader, right? For better or for worse, they believe in Elon. We believe in his engineering talent, his long-term visionary approach. I remember the day, and knock on wood, touch black. I remember the day that Steve Jobs passed away, and my dad and I were looking at Apple stock and how it went down. But remember, there was a successionary to, and this is not about, I'm not trying to make it about anyone dying here, but there was a succession plan at Apple, right? Tim Cook was kind of always the second in line. I think he'd actually started doing earnings calls already instead of Steve Jobs. So it was kind of obvious what was happening there. Ty says, this stock market is more driven by narratives than fundamentals. That will change, but that's what ultimately drives it currently. I think in the short term, news cycles can take over. Sentiment like that can take over in the short term for sure. Bad. Okay, so for the most part, everyone kind of on board. So I saw a couple questions like this. Ross Gerber nominating himself for a spot on board of directors. Someone else asked this as well. I have to find out where it was now, but I'm going to have to go on Twitter and check. Look, let me be clear. I don't think any I think the people that belong on the board of directors should not be there just to voice concerns about retail investors. The point of the board of directors is a strategic business relationship to help advance the company's mission, and then in proxy to provide value to shareholders. It shouldn't be a direct, I'm on the board so I can nitpick on all the decisions and how it might affect the stock price. Now I get the frustration, and I've voiced it even myself, right, in the beginning. Now it's not me defending everyone on the board, let's say, or that the board couldn't be stronger, but I think the board of directors would be a lot better off if it had someone like Tim Cook on it. If Tim Cook joined Tesla board of directors, can you imagine that? I mean, come on. So I don't think the board of directors is there to serve to calm shareholders on every drastic stock price or execution. That's not to say Tesla communication from investor relations or insert PR department, whatever you want to say, can be better. But no, Mimi says, I want to be on the board. Vote for me. Vote for Mimi. Hashtag vote for Mimi. The board would be, I mean, just to be fair, it would be the best job. The best job. It's like being a senator here in Canada. If you get elected as a senator in Canada, it's a lifetime job. You get a handsome 6-figure salary for life, even though you retire. You don't have to go in the office. In fact, you only have to go once or twice into Ottawa per year. Really, you can really just mail it in. So it's one of those positions where you just like, it's like, here's a retirement plan, man. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Maybe Nate. Will says Tim Cook on the Tesla board would be a great idea. Yes. And because it's a great idea, I don't think it'll happen, to be fair. But that's the type of person you want on Tesla board. No disrespect to anyone, but you want a really strategic business relationship on the board, someone that can advance the mission of the company. And I feel like the reason we're talking about Gary Black or Ross being on the board is not because of the mission and what can be done to accelerate it, but because they can voice our frustrations as shareholders. And I don't think that's a healthy way to approach this. So, no, definitely not. No, definitely not. I won't even go there with me. What? There we go, Nicholas. Hey, so Mimi, we got a little crew here, backing you up. Yeah, exactly, Boyle. Has Tim Cook been offered to be on the Tesla board of directors? I didn't think so. I know that obviously Elon and Apple met to buy out Tesla, but am I missing a narrative here? I didn't know that. But no, look, listen, you can disagree with Tim Cook, you can disagree with Apple, but having someone on the board like Tim Cook, the amount of respect he gets, the amount of insight that he would bring, whether you like it or not, I think would be massively positive. Massively positive. Who are you removing? Yeah, I mean, you could. I think you can continue to add people. You don't have to remove someone. Richard says you can't have Tim Cook because of the conflict regarding the Apple car. Well, we know about the Apple car. Okay, wrong answers only. Thank you, Richard, for this inspiration. Wrong answers only. When is the Apple car coming out? When is the Apple car? And you don't have to put a number. You can describe the era that we'll be living in. Nolan says Tim Cook doesn't understand innovation. That's fair, but remember, the board of directors is not your CEO. The board of directors is like having a posse of people in your back pocket that you can bounce ideas off of, get introduced to people, network places, get into opportunities, get into pipelines that you might have not been able to get into. And you don't follow every single strategic move that the board says, unless they're voting on something. But I mean, it's undeniable the value I think that someone like Tim Cook would bring. Even Jeff Bezos, I'll go out and say that, I think would be better. I just threw like a little grenade in the chat, I feel like. Infiltrate says, I've said it 10 times. Elon has hinted he wants to be voted out of the CEO. I mean, I don't know. I think he knows that he could step aside if he really wanted to, but also like, who's gonna run? Like, I think he knows that. Like, no one's gonna run his job in Tesla. No one's second in command. Okay, when is the Apple car coming out? Apple car's like the Tesla phone. It's already out since Kenton. When the Tesla phone comes out, wrong answer is only. I like that, Hadouken. Bahadia says never. Never. Oh, by the way, that reminds me. I was gonna throw in the chat a link to come on if you wanted to chat or ask a question or just give your thoughts on anything. Just have video on, good internet, audio. Should be good to go. I just threw in the chat there. We have 20 minutes left till close. Whenever the Saudis sell them Lucid, Paul, I know I said wrong answers only. I legit think there's a chance of this. When Elon lives on Mars at the next Apple event, never. We're just not allowed to see it. Hell freezes over yesterday. When it buys software from Tesla. For sure. Some of these answers are crazy. Oh wow. Apple car after we go to Mars. Apple car release Q3 next year. Gio. Are apples juju? No, indeed they are not. As far as out in the chat, plugging his blueberries again. I hope not. Apples are not juju. Any citrus qualifies. Speaking of which, Let's take our first citrus of the day. Oh, is the Fed talking again? Oh God. Okay. At least we got the chat on the right. When Giga Mars comes out. Okay. Shah Rose says, would you personally prefer a new Twitter CEO or Tesla CEO? 11 times out of 10, a new Twitter CEO. I think you'll have general 99% consensus on that in the chat here. I think. Techno King. Yes, indeed. Okay, 150.86 sitting on Tesla. Nolan says, Yash, what's your business day job? I run marketing. I run like Google ads, paid ads online for business owners, e-commerce stores, accountants, that sort of thing, real estate. I used to train on it. But yeah, if anyone owns a small business, they want to run advertising, feel free to hit me up on maybe Twitter, probably is best. I will pull up the options order flow as well for everyone, just so we can get. Oh, by the way, I did I mention this already? I had a proposition up for anyone that also wanted to test out Twitter ads with me, or for their business, and kind of do like a case study that we can present to the Tesla community or the Twitter community, whatever you want to call it. Because I noticed that Twitter is doing a little bit of a change in their algorithm. By the way, this is the options update on Tesla. Also, I am a licensed realtor as well. But net premiums for Tesla are not looking too hot for next week as we come in. So there is that as well. Yeah, that's the thing. You know, that's why I want to test it, because Elon's made some changes, apparently revamped the entire system. Apparently it's a lot better. But actually, it's funny. A lot of people that I talk with, a lot of the business owners really want to try. Like, they want to throw $100 at Twitter ads and see where it gets them. We got Bahadir on the stream, my friend. Bahadir, you know, fun fact about Bahadir is he was my first ever patron subscriber in the first week of me starting my channel. So shout out to you, Bahadir.
Hey, thanks a lot, Yeshu. It's really nice to be here.
Yeah, and we were chatting on Twitter DM. You wanted to share, and I guess you can talk about whatever you want, but I'll just kind of set the floor here. You wanted to talk a little bit about data collection and Tesla and modeling and that sort of stuff, if you want to share with people.
Yeah, well, to be honest, I didn't able to have that much time to think more about the data. But today I was actually more looking into the Tesla energy, which got me even more excited. I think it is such a big sleeping giant that, since we don't see big numbers on the financial statements, that we are kind of ignoring it. But I think at some time, like, we keep on reminding in the new projects that Tesla is doing. And I mean, to be honest, if you look at the overall business, what Tesla has been doing so far with the energy, it's almost like the Lego pieces are slowly coming together. And they have been building all these like software projects and products. And I don't know if most of you remember, it's like they have these names like Auto Bidder and Microgrid Controller, and let me check my notes, like VPP, the Virtual Power Plant. I mean, these are, I don't think Tesla does that much hardware on these products, but mostly on software. And they have been deploying these projects into different parts of the world. You know, recently we heard about Tesla Japan that is doing with a couple of hundreds of homeowners. And we know the Hornsdale Power Reserve in Australia, I think it was like 2017.
Right.
And last time I checked, it's like 50,000 people with their solar panels and walls are actually part of the process. But sadly, we don't know any numbers, like what is the revenue that is generated by Tesla. I was checking the financial statements, like the energy solutions and storage is around 1.1 billion, but the cost of revenue is 1 billion. So it only is like $100 million left. And I was also looking at the services part. Like, I'm not so sure which part of these products Tesla puts into the financial statements, and the revenues, the service revenues, like think like 1.6, and the cost of revenue is like
Yeah.
1.5. It's
Yeah.
it's
It's a
quite
loss
like a
leader.
small numbers. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it's
yeah,
it's too bad that they don't really give you all the tangibles in the earnings report to like really digest deep into the earnings for energy or and service is going to go up eventually, right? Because a lot of these cars are under warranty, so really Tesla does it's not a money making thing for Tesla. Tesla just has to service these newer cars. But if you want to make the argument, like, the legacy automakers, like these guys make their money off of service, right? Like, oh, oil change, like that, all those parts they have to sell. That's really where they can make a lot of their money off of service. But Elon's been on record to say like the best service is no service. We don't want to make money off of this department, really. So
yeah. And I think so. The most important aspect of this whole energy deal is that, if they have already written, let's say 60-70% of the software that they have to write in order
right,
to also implement in the rest of the world, which
right,
means the remaining part is basically sales, the
mm,
hardware installations, and dealing with the governments and the regulators.
mm,
And then it's just going to open the doors, and I think the money is going to flow in. But the problem is we
mm,
don't know how much they are going to make money out of it. But I
yeah,
mean, if you think about how many homes are there, and also what is the, like, especially like the energy market, these prices are fluctuates a lot. Like, and
they
then
do, yeah,
any like a black swan events that happens, like for example last year, I think it was in Texas, where
yeah,
the
yeah,
grid provider required huge energy, which
right,
I will assume that they will pay much more money than normal, which is
yeah.
gonna such a big, revenue point of view.
Yeah.
And
Just
like,
like this breaking news yesterday, right? The one you're talking about, Tesla's
yeah,
launching Tesla Electric in Texas.
yeah, and I think that's like on top of this, like, so they have this auto bidder software. I think the virtual power plant, all these like software is now coming together, so that
Mm,
Tesla goes into the next level of operations, which then I think they
mm,
will be able to generate more revenue. And I do believe they are playing quite a bit of a, I'm not sure if the right term is like a low ball game. Like, they don't want to like share a lot. They don't want to like really,
mm,
show us what's really going on and behind the scenes. But when
right.
you look at the overall solution, it's both a B2B and a B2C solution. Because
Right.
as
It
you go
is.
into the higher levels, that you know there is like a, I think also like commercial businesses require a lot of like electricity, and also you have one hand at the B2C part where the customers or the homes are generating the energy. So there will be a lot of arbitrage operations, which like Tesla already did in this Hornsdale power plant. I
Yeah.
mean, it's such a, I think, uh, big opportunity for the years ahead. And if you
Yeah.
remember, Elon also said that, I think the energy business is going to be as big
It's
as,
big.
or
Yeah.
even bigger than the car business. I think
True.
we just need to be a bit more patient and see how the future it's going to be all played out.
Yeah. I mean, their strategy is working because people don't talk about Tesla Energy really when they talk about like, I know we do, but really when people think of Tesla, they go cars, right? And to be fair, by revenue percentage, it is a car business today, if you just go by that metric. But you're right. I mean, a lot of people don't really talk about Tesla Energy yet. I hope that changes. But we're gonna have to see. To be fair, we're gonna have to see like more numbers out of Tesla Energy, like positive gross margin, sustained. Like, there's some chatter last earnings call that we might actually see like a 20% margin out of Tesla Energy. All of it. There's supposed to be like this big jump for whatever reason that didn't accumulate. But yeah, it's exciting times ahead for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I
And
think
since I
maybe
have, yeah, go ahead.
maybe next time I like related to the like a data. I think like insurance is one of the most important part of it, right? So they collect immense amount of data that how the car is used, how the driver is using the car, and I think that's also a very big uh,
Mm,
opportunity for Tesla to grow into the business.
yeah.
So let's see. I think good times
It's,
ahead. We just need to pass this whole roller coaster of all wars and like
yeah, it's
COVID
quite
and all these things. But
absolutely.
I think the future is looking bright. Thank you very much.
And before you sign off, you have to give us your Tesla closing price guess in person. What's your remember price is right rules, everyone throw it in the chat. You have to be at or under to win the virtual Juju prize. How epic would it be if you won with your guess, which is right here?
Okay, I will say 150.69.
Okay, nice. I like it. Thank you for joining us, Bahadir. Appreciate
Thank
it,
you very
man.
much. Bye bye.
Shout out to Bahadir. Everyone give him some love in the chat. So I'm gonna guess as well. Richard just took it. I'm gonna say 149.69. How about that? I'm gonna throw that in the chat here as well. There's a couple questions here. I mean, Tesla Energy is such a good talking point. I know we don't do it enough. Whoa, what happened on this ticker? What happened there? I know we don't do it enough, but we have to see positive gross margins sustained out of Tesla Energy for us to really like. Right now, it's just a loss leader, I think, is the way to look at it, unfortunately. But a great upside bet, right? Maybe says, I am a bit disappointed if Giga Canada is replaced by Giga Mexico. Yes, actually, I didn't pull that up, but yeah, Giga Mexico is apparently happening. I would be disappointed as well. Again, maybe this is why I say, until it happens, I am not counting my chickens. Is that the metaphor to use? I'm not counting the eggs. Whatever. You guys get the point. That's why I didn't put any excitement really on Giga Canada massively yet, because I know that's the Canadian way. We just get used for our leverage, and then Giga Mexico slides right in. A little rally to close. Yes, indeed. I mean, 150.69, actually, Bahadir's guess. Sitting on Tesla. Remember, it's quad witching today. 108 million shares traded. Don't go anywhere after market close as well. We have to get to a couple of videos off of CNBC. So one is, again, I'll watch this right after market close here with y'all. His pullback in demand, Bernstein's Tony Saganacci. And then also Joe Scarborough, I put that third, but I want to highlight Jim Cramer as well on CNBC, saying that Elon Musk needs to go back to Tesla to run and let others run Twitter. AK kind of actually, maybe should we also watch the Gary Black CNBC segment? Should we also throw that on the agenda? So don't go anywhere. We got a couple minutes. We got about 6 minutes left here until close, and then we'll watch that. Okay, there we go. Thank you, folks. Don't count the chicks before they hatch. There we go. Look, I had the gist of it right. I hope you guys can forgive me. Don't count the quad hitching before. No, never mind. How many chickens do I have now? Unfortunately, zero. Unfortunately, zero. I wouldn't mind some backyard chickens though. I think that's kind of a cool way to live. That's true. We did get some mining news. That's a good point. That's a good point. That is also true. Don't count your chickens during the biggest chicken flu. Yeah, there is like avian flu going around, right? I thought that was only a local thing here. Well, okay, so this is back to the question about Elon selling and does it dilute Tesla? But in theory, does it? In practice, does it? Not really. Diluting is reserved really for when you're increasing the share, like you're increasing the pie. When Elon sells, all you're doing is you're moving the dividers around, right? You're taking it from Elon and you're giving it to institutions or retailers or algos or hedge funds, whatever, that are buying it, right? But you know what? You bring up a good point. So there's been this long-standing question of like, why is Elon selling on the open market? Why doesn't he sell his shares directly through block trades or dark pools through institutions? That's been kind of the question, right? Why open market sell and cause this fat drawdown when you can avoid it? And the only logical explanation, someone threw this in my comments yesterday. They said, and by the way, I'm tired of that cute narrative. Remember that cute narrative? Oh, Elon's trying to lower the stock price so we can all take advantage. Look, I mean, at this point, I'm not sure how much cash people are really sitting on. But anyways, I got a comment yesterday about the drawdown in Tesla's stock doesn't have to do with Elon wanting to reduce the share price for shareholders or investors, but it's for employees that are joining, right? So if you're an employee joining, you get X percentage off of Tesla stock, lowest Tesla stock in the quarter, and so you get a discount off of that. And so that's the employee thing. I think I can buy a little bit more. Elon is making it so the new employees that have their stocks vest or have their options vest and their stocks accumulate are able to buy if they want to stay for the next 5 or 10 years at quite a low discount. Not shareholders, right? Not investors. I don't think Elon really cares, to be fair. But if you talk about the employees, I actually might buy that argument a lot more. Kinsler says employee justification doesn't hold water. Love to hear your thoughts. Feel free to throw it in. And he says, imagine how angry everyone would be if Elon bypassed retail and sold his shares to institutions. Well, I mean, you can't have it both ways, because if he sold to institutions via block trade, Tesla stock would not go down nearly as much as selling in the open market. So there is also that. So also shareholders might say, look, if you're going to, like, why would I take a 20% drawdown when I can get a 6% drawdown? So that's kind of the justification there. I don't think that's ever going to happen, but Apple doesn't even have enough. I mean, Apple could leverage and get debt, but not going to happen. If anything, the opposite way is in the next 20 years is my question. Kevin says he wants to be transparent. If he sells direct, it'd be looked on as something nefarious. Every insider really chooses the institutional route if they're selling enough shares, right? If you're buying back shares, or let's say you're issuing new shares, it's done through clearinghouses and brokerages that are going to execute the trades for you. So I don't know. It's a band-aid on a bullet hole. I think it makes a substantial difference. So I guess we could run the math later of like when Tesla was issuing new shares and the drawdowns versus Elon selling more shares. Richard said the reason for Elon selling might have been to retire high-interest personal Twitter debt. Yeah, the question is Elon going to retire soon enough all of his debt on Twitter? Does that make sense? William, how's it going? My son is getting solar panels on his house today. I have 21 panels plus a Model 3 on my birthday, December 14th. Happy belated, William. Member of the channel as well. GG Gang member. Shout out to you. I took my gas car to the dismantler to get it chopped up instead of selling it for cash. Well, if you sold it for cash, maybe you could have bought more Tesla accessories or Tesla shares or something. Shout out to you, William, though. Happy belated birthday. Everyone wish William a happy belated birthday. Strong supporter of the channel as always. Matt says, did I hear something about Elon selling SpaceX shares? We did get some rumblings of that happening. We did, but we did not actually get any official news on that. We did not. So, yeah. Okay, there we go. The market has officially closed. 150.23 closed on Tesla. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be watching some CNBC, some Kramer segments here in a second, talking about Tesla. But first, let's find the winner to our Juju closing price guessing game. Oh, ding, ding, ding. Chris N. got it on the spot. Well, hold on. Let me just make sure this is not old. Oh, no, hold on. Oh, damn, you fooled me. Chris, you got me, man. I was like, how did he get this on the spot? Okay, hold on. I'm going to go back through the history. So Adam guessed 150.26. Hopelessly Optimistic actually might win this one. 150.22. Shout out to Edward, 150.21. That's our winner. Hopelessly Optimistic. If I can find that in the chat. That's our winner for the day. Our virtual Juju Gang, our Juju prize winner. Hopelessly Optimistic. I like the name. Oh, only if I could find your name in my other chat. There it is. Shout out to you, Hopelessly Optimistic. Thank you, Digital. You helped me out there as well. I don't know how you guys are so fast. Yeah, a lot of people close. Okay, so ugly week. We have officially closed below the 200-week moving average. Not good news. at all. Our next support on the weekly is in the mid 130s. Disgusting. But we should probably clarify the Nasdaq was down 1% today as well on the Fed headlines coming out. The S&P 500 was probably down. There we go, 1.17% as well. So we probably expected a 2-ish% down day. Instead, we got a 4.7%. Could this be Elon selling? That's kind of the question. Thank you, Chris. No worries. Okay, so let's go into our videos, our CNBC videos for the day. Got a couple pulled up here. The first one is titled, "The fundamental issue Tesla is facing is a pullback in demand," says Bernstein's Tony Saganacci. Let's take a listen as to what he has to say. Let me just take off this chat here. Again, shout out to Hopelessly Optimistic for winning the contest. Let's take a listen.
I'd like to start with Tesla, just because, I find it fascinating, this connection.
Is my audio coming okay there?
Between Musk's behavior involving Twitter and the continued decline in the shares, except for yesterday. What's your take right now in terms of Tesla, whether he really is damaging some of the brand loyalty that the company has engendered over the years?
Well, good morning, David. I certainly don't think that Musk is helping Tesla's cause in terms of his association with Twitter, the actions he's taken there, the proclamations that he's made. But I do think the bigger fundamental issue is that Tesla appears to have demand issues. And we've seen them last quarter fall a little bit short on deliveries. And we've seen pretty...
Okay, last quarter, they didn't fall short on deliveries. They delivered 20,000 less than they produced, because the 20,000 less that they produced were on ships in transit. And if you read the report, they also said these 20,000 that haven't been delivered yet have all been purchased. They're just in transit yet to be delivered. Therefore, we can't say they're delivered just yet and recognize that revenue until, it's in the hands of the customers. So I don't think that's a fair way.
Aggressive price cuts in China. Now we're seeing discounting in the US, and we're seeing discounting in Europe as well. And so if you have a company that's growing or hoping to grow 40, 50% per year, and it's struggling with demand, that's the principal fundamental issue. But to your question, absolutely, I think, to some degree, Musk may be disenfranchising, potential Tesla customers, and that's certainly not helping.
Yeah, we had a guest on yesterday, though, Gary Black, who owns the stock.
Shout Gary.
Said, at least on his numbers, he thinks it's trading as low as 22 times earnings, thinks it could earn as much as $20 a share, by the way, by 2026, arguing the stock could be as high as $800. Tony, what's your take?
Well, we're at a little under $5 for next year. So that means the stock's still trading at above 30 times earnings.
$5 a share EPS next year would be, I believe, lower than Q4 EPS annualized. You have to run the math on that, but at the very least, break even, let's say. I think consensus street is like around $6 to $8. And then I've seen some Tesla projections on Twitter, especially between $8 to $10 EPS next year. Remember, operating leverage is real, right? Because Tesla doesn't have a lot of operating costs. So every car they build disproportionately adds to the bottom line.
We are in a higher interest rate environment. And so when you look out to the future and you look at earnings, you have to discount those at a higher rate. And that's part of the reason we've had a pullback in high multiple stocks. I think the fundamental question is, until about 6 months ago, everyone thought Tesla could continue growing at 50% a year for the next few years and sustain or enhance margins. And I think we're seeing...
I still think that.
Real demand issues. And so that means either the growth rate's going to have to slow, or they're going to have to cut price like they're doing now and have lower margins.
Well, first of all, I do think there's going to be price cuts next year, let's say. But the price cuts are going to fuel the growth. So I'm not sure if you can have it both ways. I don't think you can say they're not going to grow at 50% and they're going to have to cut prices. I think they're going to cut prices because they're going to want to continue to grow at 50%. But remember, costs are also going down. That's another thing, right? I guess there's uncertainty there with 4680s and gear castings. Is that going to work? And, costs going down there. But if they do work, that's a substantial lowering in cost that I'm not sure is being baked into this analysis.
And I think for the next couple of years, given that there's no new high volume product coming, that's going to.
Well, Cybertruck is slated to come next year, which I get. I know it's kind of like, we've been saying the Cybertruck's coming for a long time, but all reports are showing middle of next year. By middle of next year, Cybertruck first deliveries will be out. I guess time will
be
tell.
A real challenge for the company. So I think it's difficult to say beyond 24, 25, because there may be some new products, and the EV space is pretty dynamic in terms of competition.
Competition is coming.
But when we look forward over the next year or two, I think those are going to be challenging relative to the expectations that Tesla has set with the investment community. And that's the principal reason we're seeing this, continued pullback in the stock.
I think we're seeing a pullback this week because Elon's selling and macros, but
it's almost at your price target, Tony. At 100, you're at 150, underperform. Sounds like you might have to take that lower, and it also.
What? Why not take that as a buy rating if it's at your price?
It sounds like the Twitter purchase doesn't even factor into your bearish thesis. Is that right? The fact that he's had to sell stock, that he's clearly been very distracted, and now there are concerns about buying a Tesla and what that brand image means.
Right. So yes, we think the risk reward, we've had this price target for, I think, a year and a half. And, when the stock was at 400, I think, a lot of people thought, oh, well, this will never happen. And there have been a number of factors that have contributed to that, principally that we've had a big market drawdown and inflated valuations across the board have come down. But my principal concern is.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely got the price target right. I guess you got to give him kudos on that. But I'm not sure anyone could have really predicted this year with the Ukraine war, Elon selling, Twitter debacle, insert new macro existential crisis. But yeah, fair enough. I guess
it's more fundamental. I do think we've seen some impact on the shares because of Elon's association with Twitter. I think the stock was up yesterday, in part because people were relieved. They said, oh, well, the stock's been going down. That's because, Musk has been selling shares. There's an explanation for that. We feel a little bit better. But we're seeing the shares down again today. And I do think that, the principal reason remains demand concerns over.
No, I disagree. I think the principal concern that today is that that Elon probably sold shares today. I see a comment here. 135 million shares traded on the day. 135 million. 70 to 80 is about average. I would say there's a good chance today's the last that Elon could officially sell before the blackout period too. So I think he has probably sold today, but we won't technically find out latest by Tuesday evening for sure.
Overnight there was, incremental discounts. Tesla's now giving not only $3,750 discounts on cars taken in December, but they're also offering 10,000 free miles of supercharging. That was a new promotion that occurred overnight.
But remember, 10,000 miles, really, like the cost of energy is so little. I remember when we got 1,000 free kilometers of supercharging, and 10,000 miles is substantially more, but of course. But we ran the math, and it was like worth like $200, because the cost of energy is really not that high, to be honest.
Interesting. All right, yeah, because obviously our viewers just saw stocks down 31% since they closed the Twitter transaction. Obviously, he's also banning journalists from the platform as well. Tony, we didn't even get.
Just slip a little non-Tesla related thing just in there. This is the problem with the narrative, right? It's so easy to paint this. It's a lazy narrative, but it's so easy. So if you're reaching for one, it's really not hard to put a FUD narrative together.
To Apple, but somehow I think we'll have you back soon enough to talk Apple again. Appreciate you taking time this morning. Thank you.
So there we go. We have it. His analysis on Tesla demand going away, competitors coming. The problem with the competitors argument always has been that competitors really aren't building EVs at any profit, right? The majority of EVs out there are not making profit, especially in North America. And forget about like if your unit economics for a car is already so weak, you can't scale that until it gets better. Like, of course, with scale are going to come some cost efficiencies, but they don't have the tech in place, the battery and the vertical integration enough to the point yet. And I wish they do. Again, you guys know I always cheer for EV producers out there, but it's just no one. And talk about rear view mirror. I think you could probably pull up a webcam 2 states away and you don't see anyone. Yes, banning journalists don't explain why they're banned. I don't even know why that's even connected to the Tesla narrative. That doesn't make any sense, you know? Yeah, it's just crazy. Quick jabs, exactly. Maybe had a good chat here. She said, you're driving a Tesla, not an Elon. That's very true. Okay. Guys, I need your feedback. Do we watch Gary Black's CNBC segment, or do we watch Jim Cramer's talk today about Tesla? Throw in the chat, and whatever wins, whatever is gonna win, we're gonna react to that next. Remember, I'll clip these out as well on the weekend, so you guys can watch them after. Matt says, Yash, can you please explain the blackout period? Elon can't sell after. So there's a blackout period to my knowledge, and I'll try to describe it the best way I know it possible. If anyone wants to correct me, feel free. But because of Q4 earnings, because of any earnings, okay, it seems like Gary Black wins by a handsome margin. Okay, so we'll watch Gary Black here in a second.
Okay.
But because of quarterly earnings and insider information and being able to know what's going to happen in the report, Tesla closes, I think, 2 weeks prior to quarter end and a couple of days after the 10Q comes out, or the 10K comes out in this case. And Tesla will essentially ban all employees from trading Tesla stock in effort to minimize any sort of narrative about insider trading. That's it. Okay. Gary Black it is. Our boy, our man, the myth, the legend, Gary Black. Go to Twitter. Oh, Elon just tweeted. Elon just tweeted. Here, I'll pull this up. Elon just tweeted. Tesla is performing better, executing better than ever. We don't control the Federal Reserve. That's the real problem here. To Ross's tweet saying Elon has now erased $600 billion of Tesla wealth and still nothing from the Tesla board of directors. It's wholly unacceptable. Look, I'm not sure if this is some people in the chats are putting, I'm not sure if I've missed some chats here, but it seems like, you know, you guys are saying he's trying to petition to be on the board. I think it's, you guys already know my thoughts on this. Let's watch Gary Black on Twitter, on CNBC. Shout out to Gary for making it on CNBC. Let's see what he has to say. It's about a 3-minute clip.
Good to have you. And of course,
Hey,
our
David.
viewers may recall you have been somewhat critical of these dual responsibilities, really more than that Musk has, but in particular what he's doing at Twitter. What would you like to see here?
Look, if you look at the fundamentals of Tesla, they haven't changed at all. This company's going to earn at least $7 next year. It's growing volumes at 40%, earnings at 50%, and yet it's trading at literally, my numbers, 22 times earnings. So it's just above the S&P. And I would argue there's a ton of catalysts in front of us. They got Cybertruck. They have a $30,000 model coming out.
I don't know if we can bank on the $30,000 model. Okay, throw in the chat. Is the 30,000 model going to be unveiled next year, next fiscal year, 2023? Yes or no?
We think they're going to have a $10 billion buyback next year. The IRA, which is $7,500 EV credit, is going to kick in next year. So the fundamentals are extraordinary. The problem is all the noise. And, you know, what we would like to see is that, you know, Elon bring in a CEO for Twitter who's from the social media space, give up running Twitter, and refocus again on being 100% Tesla's CEO. And I believe that the board is probably pressuring him to do that, because I can't imagine a board letting him spend so much time, you know, rebuilding company.
You know who would be the perfect Twitter CEO? Sheryl Sandberg. What is she up to nowadays, now that she's left Facebook or Meta? Wouldn't she be the perfect Twitter CEO? We should start that petition, see what she's up to. Maybe she's already doing something.
Round up.
By the way, how refreshing is it to hear on CNBC, like actual Tesla numbers and facts and growth and EPS actually properly articulated?
Yeah, I mean, you could argue, I would think for the longest time during Tesla's history, there was a Musk premium. Do you think there's now a Musk discount?
I don't think so yet, David. You know, look.
I think so. I think so. I think the answer for me there would be yes.
The problem is,
I'm not saying it's going to stay like that, but I think that would explain the recent weakness for sure.
with him insulting his customers. And so he took over Twitter and he immediately said he's going to name and shame the advertisers, which pissed off all the advertisers. And, 50% of them left, and Amazon and Apple have come back. So I think that's turned the corner because he's kind of stopped that. But lately he's got this woke mind virus rhetoric that I'm sure is not making his EV customer base that happy. These are the same people who are buying EVs, and I know you've pointed that out. And I think that's just a big mistake. So I would hope that some of his advisors were saying, "Hey, Elon, you're brilliant. You've created so much value, but stop pissing off all of our customers because that's not going to help the EV business." Do I think people are actually canceling orders because of his woke mind virus rhetoric? I don't believe so.
And maybe a few are, but I agree. I don't think there's a large degree in. I think it's a convenient excuse in the same way that a lot of Twitter advertisers are starting to pull out of Twitter because there's no ROI on Twitter. There never has been, and we're going into recession, so they're cutting back spending and they're using the excuse of Elon as the reason why they're
still love buying Teslas. They're the best cars on the market. They're the only ones that can, give great performance, great battery range, great technology, and safety. And those are the four elements that people look for when they buy an EV. And so I think that this is just a pause. This is price. It's not value, right? The price has fallen, but the value really hasn't changed. If you look at estimates by the street, they really haven't changed all that much, despite all this noise.
If anything, they've actually come down, right, in the last couple months.
Better word.
Gary, good to
shout out Gary coming on CNBC, dropping some knowledge on us. What's funny is you can say the most basic things regarding Tesla on CNBC, and it's like dropping the mic almost a little bit. Yes, we have people like Gene Munster, Dan Ives that come on talk about the earnings growth potential on CNBC, but always good to hear from Gary. At the back of the napkin modeling as well that kind of is done. The discounting, the NPV, I think is totally the way to go, in my opinion. Nada says, I canceled my order because of Tesla stock value and drop in value. That is fair. That's fair. All right. Much love, everyone. Thanks for tuning in for another successful Power Hour stream today. I'll leave you with my Friday thoughts. Put away your phones, technology, stop looking at stocks. And for the love of God, sign off of Twitter for an hour out of the day. And I'm talking kind of to myself through here. Much love, everyone. Be well, be happy, be healthy if you can. Remember, that's all that matters. And I'll catch you guys in the next stream. Hit subscribe on your way out. Join the Juju Gang community, $5 a month through Patreon or channel membership on YouTube. Gets you into our Discord chat. Remember, if you're going to come in there, bring the good juju. We have an awesome community of, I think, over 200 people in our Discord to chat, and it helps support the channel as well. Do whatever you want, though. Much love. I will clip out these two streams that I've just put out, or these two CNBC clips, and I'll put it out Saturday, Sunday. I find a lot of good feedback regarding that. People can't watch the entire stream. So, all right, guys, much love. Thank you. Politics suck. Yeah. It is what it is. Let's try to get better together. Less divisiveness, I think, is the way to go. All right, guys, much love. I'm going to be going on Tesla Herbert's channel now in a couple minutes here time. And it's going to be pre-recorded. I don't think it's going to be live streamed. And it's probably going to be coming out next week. All right, guys, much love. Take care, everyone. Be happy, be healthy, and peace. Catch you guys on Discord.